Hi guys, how are you? This isn't as fun. I'm not live. I had to record. The internet was actually absolutely shocking. I think it's because it's overcast today and we know how wonderful Australian internet is these days. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Naomi Judge. I'm a naturopath and nutritionist, and I help women discover the connection between their health, happiness and hormones. And normally I really would like to do a live, but today I'm back to back. I've got clients after this, so I won't have time to come on, and I did want to kind of get this out, get this done, because I had promised I would do this today. And then I'm going to pop on Thursday, so pop on tomorrow at 6 p.m. and do a Q&A, and we can do a live then. So this will just be a little bit of an intro, and today I'm talking about cholesterol. This is such a huge topic, and it is one that I am so passionate about because it's one of the issues I find in clinic that can be sorted with lifestyle. It can be sorted by balancing hormones. It can be sorted by looking at the metabolism, by looking at the diet and all of these factors. And elevated cholesterol is diagnosed in a really bizarre way. It's not tested efficiently, and the first port of call is normally medication. And so I'd like to see that kind of fine-tuned. I'd like to see us really, instead of putting more and more people on medication, let's look at the root cause. Let's look at what's really happening. And yes, if your risk factors are high, if you've got risk factors, if it's in your family, you've had previous heart attack, and you have got elevated cholesterol, and you're still looking at everything else and you're being healthy, then yes, medication. But for a lot of us, we don't need to go on that medication. So let's look at what we can do, because once we look after ourselves, we can elevate our health and well-being, and we'll feel fantastic for longer. Cholesterol is vital. If we start blocking it, if we start down-regulating the pathways of its production, of its synthesis, it's going to affect us in many different ways. We need cholesterol to make sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol. We need cholesterol to synthesize vitamin D, so without adequate cholesterol, we'll have low vitamin D. We also need cholesterol to make bile, and that's how we detoxify. Bile is one of the biggest detoxifiers in our body. It helps us to excrete toxins, heavy metals, it helps us to excrete hormones from our digestive tract. So it is so very important. And also, lastly, cholesterol is a building block of our cells. It is a building block of our brain. Without cholesterol, we might have fogginess, we might have fatigue, we might have poor memory. So we need it. It's not the enemy. It's not something we don't need. It's just misunderstood. Cholesterol is just a misunderstood fat, and the more we understand and the more you learn and the more we research and the more we get what it's actually for and how we can get to the root cause of balancing it out, the healthier we will all be. So let's start with the 4 factors. So the 4 factors that I see in clinical practice: diet, thyroid and metabolism health, stress, and hormone balance, mainly estrogen. There are other hormones involved, but we're going to just talk about estrogen today. Now, I've got lots of notes, so I might look down now and again so that I don't forget anything. Okay, let's get started on diet. So fat. What happens when we're told we've got high cholesterol? So we get our cholesterol tested. What happens? We go on a low-fat diet. But actually, studies have shown that low-fat diet can change healthy cholesterol and change it to make it actually bad. And it can actually make the shape of the cholesterol an unfriendly shape. We want our cholesterol to be juicy and soft and like a balloon and round. It kind of bounces through and does what it needs to do and bounces through, not causing any damage. If we go on low-fat diets and have high sugar, high refined carb diets, what happens is our cholesterol molecules get small, they get sharp like glass, and they go around our artery system causing damage. So that's the problem. It's the shape of them, and it's our diet. Fat actually nourishes our cholesterol and actually creates nice big fluffy cholesterol molecules that are very safe. So that's one thing. So when you're looking at diet, you want to look at a diet that's got all the good fats in. And when I'm talking good fats, I'm talking about an array of fats. I'm talking about avocado, olives, coconut, animal fats, macadamia nut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, all of those beautiful different fats that will help. The fats we want to stay away from are your vegetable oils, like your canola oil, the oils that you might deep fry in, like the chips that might be put in vegetable oil, fried things in vegetable oil, canola oil. And also we want to stay away from hydrogenated fats. Hydrogenated fats are like a process of getting those fats so they can be used, say, in chocolate bars and in biscuits and that kind of thing. Those fats will cause damage, but the cleaner the fat, the closer it is to its natural form, the better it is for you. So once you take all fats out of your diet, not only are you getting rid of a main macronutrient to help with brain health, to help with fogginess, to help with memory, to help with neurons, your nervous system, you're also getting rid of the food for cholesterol to make it into the molecule it needs to be. It needs that food, and it does need fat. So that's the issue there. Now, a couple of other foods that also encourage bad cholesterol are sugar and fructose. So sugar and fructose actually go through a process, lipogenesis, and that's actually the creation of very low density lipoproteins, and they are some of the worst fats. You've got LDL, HDL and VLDL, and they actually go through a process of making those. The worst being pure fructose. So pure fructose and high fructose corn syrup, even agave, like high fructose corn syrup, they are both high fructose, they don't have any fiber, and they can cause this lipogenesis in the body. So you're creating more triglycerides, which are bad, you're creating more bad cholesterol, and if you're having a low fat diet, you're creating more bad cholesterol that's not nice and plump and fluffy and soft. You're making hard, glassy, dangerous cholesterol. So when you look at your diet, the first thing you need to do is say, do I have a balanced diet? And this is one of the things we do in the Breakthrough program. We take out all the fats that are bad for you, we take out all the unhealthy sugars, we lower the fructose in the body, and we've got a diet that nourishes your system, nourishes your cholesterol, and helps to balance out your cholesterol. So that's the first place to look. Look at your diet first and just see what's going on. What have you got in your diet that's not supporting you? And take out those bad things first, starting with your sugar, starting with your fructose, starting with your hydrogenated fats and your vegetable oils, and keep a nice balance of good proteins, a nice balance of starches, a nice balance of fats, and lots of antioxidants and vegetables, because antioxidants in your berries, in your green leafy vegetables, in your red vegetables, the antioxidants will prevent the fats in your blood from oxidizing, and oxidizing can cause problems as well. So the more antioxidants you have, the better you will be. Okay, so next I wanted to move on to thyroid, the thyroid. I just had to look at that so I don't miss anything. So your thyroid regulates your metabolism, and part of this is how everything works in your body, how everything works along. We've got your metabolism, we've got your digestion, we've got your body working like an engine, your mitochondria. And one of the things that the thyroid hormone does, T3, it is essential for metabolism of cholesterol. So what essentially happens if you're hypothyroid, whether you're on medication or not, because a lot of people go into hypothyroid situations. I know I can through the month. If I'm run down, if I'm mid-cycle, just coming up to my period, my thyroid can dip a little bit, and you feel fatigued, you feel cold, you might get constipated. There's lots of things that can happen when your thyroid goes low. But essentially, when your T3 is low, or your T3 is not working like it should be working, you're more at risk of having elevated cholesterol. So your cholesterol will go up. And studies do show that hypothyroidism is one of the biggest risk factors for heart disease. So getting your thyroid working, whether you know it's out or not, is so important for your heart. It's so important for your overall well-being. You know, your thyroid and your metabolism, your metabolic hormones will help your heart function, will look after your heart. So that's really important. So what you want to do is you want to do things that are going to support your thyroid. So your diet, for one, 3 nourishing meals a day. Fat supports your thyroid, so you still want to have fat in your diet. You want to support your metabolism. You want to do various exercises, from relaxing yin yoga to high intensity training. So that will support your thyroid too. You can also add in things like zinc. You can add in selenium. You can eat Brazil nuts that have got selenium in. and add in iodine in the form of dulce flakes, or if you want to add a little bit of iodine as a supplementation, you can. So all these will support this gland to produce T3, which is the active thyroid hormone, and this T3 will help the breakdown and the metabolism of your cholesterol and prevent this buildup in the arteries. That's the key here, preventing the buildup in the arteries, because when the arteries shrink and go small, that's when we get the blood pressure problems and we have the issues with not getting enough blood oxygen to the heart and to peripheral areas. So that is essentially very important. Factor number 3, stress. Wow, I mean, I see so many stressed women come through my clinic daily, and stress is huge because when we stress, we produce cortisol, which means we mobilize glucose into the blood, which means we mobilize fatty acids into the blood. So when we get stressed, all this is going on, all these fatty acids, glucose are coming into the blood, and they might be being stored as fat around the liver, or they might be being stored as fat in the belly, but essentially then you're getting more fatty acids in the blood. So stress and rises in cortisol are a huge issue, and there is actually a study here that I wrote down. I have to read it because I can't remember. The study that I wrote down was a study that was done with students, so before an exam, and what this showed is when before the exam the students, their blood was tested and it showed higher cortisol in the blood, but not only that, it showed higher glucose in the blood, and it showed higher LDL, which is the bad cholesterol in the blood, and this was in anticipation for stress, because so you can see actually through the month how, if stressful periods, if you're getting your bloods done, how that might actually affect your cholesterol. So if you're having your bloods done on a day that you're very stressed, or you have been stressed leading up to that, your bloods might not actually represent what you are through the month. So that's something else that's going on here. But I found that study very interesting, and I will link to that when I write this up as a blog, because that one is interesting, and it shows that HDL actually goes a bit lower. So it's interesting that the good goes lower and the bad goes higher. Glucose goes higher as well as the fatty acids and cortisol in the blood. So stress, stress is all about finding that time in the day, finding that time to 10 deep breaths are very good, having that mindfulness in the morning, mindfulness before you go to bed, having your 3 meals a day. Brenda and I are actually doing a workshop next week. We'll let you guys know about it, but we're talking about stress and we're talking about guilt in this workshop, because this is huge. Stress is one of the biggest causes of so many diseases, and if we can just get that under control and find the time in the day to just be still, even when we're busy, it's going to help. So just mindfulness, you can do things like just cut your coffee down, make sure you're drinking enough fluid, add in magnesium, add in Epsom salt bath before bed, maybe have a massage every couple of weeks. Acupuncture also is wonderful for stress. So my advice is find 3 things that you know help you adapt and come down for stress, and you can do these 3 things each day, because this is a really important part of you reaching your optimal health as well. So stress is a big one. So we've got diet, we've got sugar and fructose and hydrogenated fats and vegetable oils, not so good for your cholesterol levels. We've got thyroid, so a low thyroid will also stop the metabolism of cholesterol and sort of cleaning up of the bad cholesterol, so that's one. Stress is a huge one. Whenever we get stressed, LDL, glucose, all the fatty acids and cortisol will rise in the blood, and that's really not a good place to be. And for the 4th factor, we've got estrogen. So estrogen is a tricky one because there's lots of old school beliefs, there's lots of different studies. So we've got when you go on the oral contraceptive pill, it has been shown that the oral contraceptive pill, which is estradiol, has been shown to increase triglycerides in the blood. So that's one factor. Also, there is a study that shows that estradiol increases plasma levels of fatty acids, but estrone reduces plasma levels of fatty acids. So there's a lot of different science out there, but what we do know is when women are put on the oral contraceptive pill, it does put them at risk, more risk of heart disease, elevated cholesterol, blood clots. That is not a good place to be, and that is that estradiol. So that's just something to consider if you've got a family history of heart disease, family history of blood clotting, MTHFR, then you shouldn't really be on estradiol only contraceptive pill. Another thing we do know is that women who go through menopause have issues with high cholesterol. Now, it's like a chicken or the egg scenario here. Are they going through menopause and just not having a great diet, cutting out fats, maybe not exercising as much, so it changes their fatty acid profile? Is it that going through menopause they're going into hypothyroidism, so that changes the cholesterol profile? But what we do know is women go into menopause, their estrogen profiles change, and their estradiol, which is produced in the ovaries, starts to come down, and mostly estrone that's produced in the adrenals and fatty tissue rises. For some women testosterone goes up, for some women testosterone goes down, but there is this shift. And what I see in a lot of women that are postmenopausal, they have high cholesterol. So what we do know is those estrogen shifts affect their metabolism, it affects their cholesterol levels, and it affects their ability to lose weight. It causes symptoms like anxiety, stubborn weight. It can cause depression. So there's a lot that shifts there. So the best advice I've got is if you are premenopausal, coming up to menopause, it's to get your estrogens tested, all your 3 estrogens, because not everyone's is the same, and we just assume that we're estrogen dominant, but we don't know which estrogen. So we really need to know which estrogen we're making, and at the end of the day we can still synthesize estrogens even if we're going through menopause, even if we don't have ovaries, we can still make estrogen. So assuming our estrogen, say, has dropped out after menopause might not be the right thing to assume, because we could still be making it. So what we do know is there is a shift in estrogens, and more likely than not, postmenopausal women have elevated cholesterol. So it's really important at that stage not to withhold fat, not to stop having fat, because if you give up all the fat and you go on a low fat diet and don't eat much, that's slowly going to eat into your stores. It's slowly going to eat into your bank account, your vitality bank account. And what that's going to do is it's going to lead to more things being out of balance. Elevated cholesterol is your body out of balance. And so if you withhold nutrients and withhold food, the only thing that can happen is it will go out of balance more. It'll either go higher or it'll drop out completely and go really low. It's not going to go into a beautiful place if you're not doing for your body what you need to be doing for your body. And it's really restoring your bank balance. So as you go through menopause, the most important thing is to restore your bank balance, nourish your nervous system, nourishing foods in your diet. It's not the time to not have foods. It's the time to have 3 amazing, beautiful meals a day. It's the time to do more strength training, to exercise more. It's the time to be doing these projects that you've always wanted to do, taking up art if you've always wanted to do art, do a master's degree in something. That's what menopause is for. This is a beautiful time for women to open up, not go on a diet and just pick on carrots or some crackers with tuna through the day. It's a time to nourish your body more than you've ever nourished your body, because for most of your life previously you will have been thinking about your family, thinking about your partners, thinking about other people, and now it's the time to really give back, restore your escrow account and get that high, so through your 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s you're flying. That's what you need to be doing here. So I hope that helped. So what did we talk about today? We talked about diet, we talked about reducing sugar, reducing fructose, reducing refined carbs, having a balanced diet with fats, not hydrogenated fats and not vegetable oils. We talked about getting your thyroid checked out. We talked about stress and how that impacts your cholesterol levels, how estrogen can impact your cholesterol levels. Estrogen being in balance, out of balance can impact it. Going on the oral contraceptive pill can be detrimental. So those are the things to consider, the 4 factors to consider. And I did have some questions, but I'm going to answer these questions actually tomorrow night. So Thursday night I'm going to go through these questions, and I'm going to be talking about, tomorrow night I'm going to be talking about cholesterol medication and what it does. I'm going to be answering these questions. So if you've got any more questions, please feel free to ask me. And I'm so sorry I couldn't turn up live today. The internet is very poor. So I hope that helped. Please let me know if you've got any questions, and I'm looking forward to a bit of feedback, and I'm hopefully looking forward to catching you all tomorrow live on Facebook 6 p.m. So until then, bye.